What is going on, everyone? So it has been a little while since I have created one of these videos, and in this video I want to talk a little bit about the fall trip. I want to wrap things up a little bit. If you guys watched the videos, you saw that I was off to a little bit of a slow start early on the trip, but then things got productive. Day by day I was working away at it, finding subjects. And then if you guys watched the film reveal video, you saw that I didn't have a very positive feeling about seeing the film. And that's one of the things that always fascinates me about this process, which is the perception of our work and how it changes with time. When I was looking at the film in the film reveal video, I was getting a little bummed out because I shot a lot of film on this trip. And I'm just watching the film go by on the light box and just not really connecting to any of the photos really. And it's kind of strange the way that works with film because you don't have that instant review, you don't have that instant feedback. So you shoot a photo and then all that you have really from that scene is just what you remember from that scene. And that has a tendency to change with time. Things that were pretty decent end up getting much better in your mind. Things that weren't all that great you might either forget about or maybe you just don't even think about it too much, but it's really interesting how things change. And when I saw the film, what really struck me is that the photos didn't resemble reality. It didn't resemble what I saw when I was standing there. And I chose the specific subjects for a reason because it made me feel a certain way when I was looking at them. And as an example, the photo that ended up being my favorite from the trip, which was those two maples that had that really nice soft backlighting, really, really calm, where I was leaning up against the rock photographing them. That particular scene, looking up at it, had this really calm, sort of soothing feel to it. The fact that you're looking up at these trees, it had this canopy that you're underneath, it was just really, really calm. And when I saw the film and saw that the film went really, really blue with that scene, my first reaction was that this doesn't look like the scene. This isn't the scene that I connected with when I was there. And I knew that those photos, I could warm them up and it'd be okay. And that was very true for that one. I scanned it, I warmed it up a little bit, and then I was able to get back to reality or some form of reality. And now that photo is definitely my favorite from the trip, and I think it's because I can connect with it because it gives me the feeling that I had when I was standing there. And to me, that's how I evaluate if a photo is successful. If I get that same feeling standing there as looking at the photo, I know that I made the right decisions and it turned out just right. But a lot of the photos from the trip, I didn't have that feeling. Another example is that box elder tree I photographed in the Slot Canyon. And this was on color negative film, so I went ahead and I scanned it. And I didn't even spend a heck of a lot of time with the scan. And when you do scan color negative film, it takes more time to work on that scan and to get it to be a positive and to make it look like it is supposed to look like. And when I did the scanning of that film, it was maybe, 3-4 days after I got back from the trip. So I still had the vivid memory of how that scene actually looked in my mind. And when I was editing the scan, I was kind of frustrated because I couldn't get the scan to look like reality. And I loved the way that reality looked for that scene. And that's one of the reasons I was attracted to it. But in retrospect, I now realize that the film's rendition of that scene, even though it doesn't reflect reality, it has a warmth to it, which is nice. It has a very sort of reminiscent feel, which I think really works well for the subject. And as a bit more backstory behind that photo, I edited that whole video together. I had everything in there. And the only thing I had to do left at the end was to write a voiceover just to share my thoughts on the photo. And I really didn't even know what my thoughts were at the time of doing that. And this was a couple months after I had, returned from the trip. So I opened up that file again, I looked at it, and even though I was looking at the exact same file that I was looking at, when I first edited that file just a few days from getting back from the trip, my perception was completely different. That photo had a bit more of a reminiscent feel. It felt like it had a deeper meaning to it. And so those 2 months, what had happened is that my own perception of that scene had kind of faded away a little bit and is replaced with what I see with this photo. So it's different, but it was better. So that was kind of interesting. And I think part of shooting film, you're forced to have this, you don't have this instant feedback, which it just changes the perception of things. So that's one of the things I do appreciate about working with film. It forces you to have some distance between subjects, and also by making the videos, it forces me to kind of have some more separation from reality that makes it so that the perception does change with time. But then there's other things too, where there's a photo that you might really like at first, and then that one will sort of fade away a little bit in terms of your appreciation for that image. And so probably one of the most popular photos based on the comments and the feedback on the YouTube video was the photo in the Slot Canyon with the pine trees and the red maple and the wash. And I'll say I like that one at first, but it's kind of weird. That one, it's kind of waning on me a little bit right now. There's some stuff that bugs me a little bit about it that I think interferes with the subject, which are the trees in the background. I think a lot of it is the red maple in the lower left. It's just kind of bugging me a little bit. Something doesn't sit right. And the reason I say this is that the perception I have looking at the photo, the feeling I get by looking at the photo, it doesn't match the feeling I had when standing there looking at the scene. And that's my way of knowing that I can do better with that scene. So we'll kind of see how that one goes. I was very close to including that photo in the box set, but then at the last minute, there's something told me just give it a little bit more time, and who knows, maybe I'll come around to that one in the long run. Maybe I'll revisit that scene and realize I really did the best I could on that scene. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But it's interesting the way that the perception changes with time, and I do enjoy the process of having a little bit of a pause between capturing the photo and working with them. I will say that when I returned from the trip and after doing the film review video, it really had me thinking that maybe the film workflow isn't necessarily the best for what I want to accomplish, which is to take photos that give me the feeling of being there. And so I was even debating, maybe I should be working with a digital camera. Maybe it'd make life easier, because there are times when film goes one way, when in reality, it's the subject is actually going the other way. And so it makes it a little bit harder sometimes working with film, because you have to kind of correct for what the film is trying to do, which may not be necessarily what you had in mind. But I do enjoy this process. And I've learned through the years that having a somewhat negative view of the photos at first is typically a good thing, because oftentimes my favorite photos for the years are ones that started as one I just easily dismissed. It wasn't really something that was attracting me to that scene, but then that one really has grown on me. And I think that was the case for this trip, and especially with those two maples. The next video I'm going to do, which will come out next week, is going to be a composition review for the various photos from the trip, and share some more thoughts behind what was going through my mind when I was setting up the compositions, what I think worked, what I think didn't work, and I look forward to sharing that one as well. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next week.